SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to today's lecture. So let's continue on the topic that we have been discussing on environmental impact of exploitation of mineral resources, and in particular reference to mining of multi-metal sulfide deposits and the deposits where we have a dominance of pyrite, which readily dissolves the readily gets oxidized and generates substantial amount of H plus ion in the form of H2SO4, and this acid contaminates the soil and water nearby, affecting the ecology, affecting the aquatic life, and in addition to that also indirectly affecting the human life also. So to just to recapitulate, when we were doing the impact assessment through acid mine drainage and doing the acid waste accounting, we concluded that if a particular ore body contains more than 9% of the sulfidic sulfur, then in any case it is going to be net acid producing, no matter how much of material would be there in the form of the carbonate, because carbonates are the most efficient amongst the materials to neutralize the acid, and so it will be acid producing. Just one more additional point in relation to the exploitation of the mineral resources and particularly the multi-metal sulfide deposits is the environmental impact of the smelting, because we know that once the ore bodies, the sulfide ores are mined from the mine, they are concentrated in plants essentially by the process of froth flotation, and then the ore is enriched to a level where the ore could be fed into a smelter for extraction of the metal, and the material which is discarded is in the form of tailings, in the form of slurry, are deposited in the tailing dam, and then the concentrates are essentially fed to the plants which are the smelters, where the sulfide where the metals is recovered in the process of smelting. So the smelting essentially is a pyrometallurgical process, and it produces slags in this process, which also have to be disposed of. But more important is the situation which we all know is basically the acid rain. So in the process of smelting of the sulfide ores, a huge amount of sulfur dioxide is discharged to the atmosphere, and this sulfur dioxide which is there in the atmosphere gets dissolved in the rain which is precipitated from the clouds. So generally the idea about acid rain is that acid rain is produced by the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but essentially the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is also soluble and which also renders the rainwater a little bit of acidity, but that is always within the range of greater than 6, 5 point around, at least greater than 5. But the water, which can be called as an acid water and affecting the aquatic life or causing environmental concerns, generally the rain acid, the water which falls in the form of rain has a pH of less than 5. There the deleterious effect quite lot, and they affect the aquatic life. So there in addition to sulfur dioxide, there the nitrogen oxides, the NO2 and the different stoichiometry, mostly the nitrogen dioxide, it also gets dissolved by the rain and cause acid rain, and we know that they affect the land, they affect the agriculture, and affect the aquatic life, the as a whole they affect the environment. So these could be discussed as one of the salient points on the environmental impact of mineral resource exploitation, in particular reference to the mining of the multi-metal sulfide deposits. There are many other environmental problems, even though they are a little more less known or a little less well known than many such straightforward cases like acid mine drainage. For example, the dispersion of toxic metals like arsenic or antimony related to gold mining are reported in certain cases, and the case of arsenic contamination in groundwater affecting many parts of the eastern India and the neighboring country also have been debated a lot, and sometimes they are ascribed to geogenic causes. So whenever we talk about a geogenic cause, means we always take it for granted that there are some horizons where there are either arsenic bearing sulfides or itself arsenopyrite or sulfide minerals with substance with significant concentration of arsenic are exposed during the process of their weathering, and this is how they are affecting the environment. And there are many, because arsenic is a metal which is only affects only in the +3 oxidation state, and generally remains precipitated or in the +5 state. So whenever there is a reduction in the environment is a bit reducing, there the arsenic is released and the water is contaminated. So many of these related issues which could not directly be concerned with the exploitation in terms of the mining. There are other situations like the bauxite deposits and the aluminum extraction process causing fluoride contamination in the surrounding areas are also well known and well discussed. We are not getting into any further details on them. They could what have been discussed are some of the important and the key issues. So when we come to the environmental impact of mineral resource exploitation, if we don't discuss about the issue of the coal or this particular issue, which is the spontaneous combustion of coal or the coal mine fire, has been a very, very important and a critical and burning issue associated with utilization or exploitation of coal. Even though we have not discussed about our coal resources, about the geology or the origin of these coal deposits in the country, in the world, or in particular in the Indian context, but this particular issue which worth a little bit of discussion here, because sometimes it is discussed that some of the coal fields in eastern India, like the Jharia coal field and the coal fields in the parts all in this region, sometimes it is told that basically these localities are actually sitting on fire. Now why is it so? Because now before going to that, even though we have not discussed much about it, let's have a very brief look on the coal occurrences in India, whatever have been marked here in pink. So this is the Damodar River Valley coal deposit, Son Valley in the central India. This is the Mahanadi Valley coal deposits, the Godavari Valley, and we know these coal deposits. And this is the Raniganj coal field, this is Jharia, and this is the West Bokaro coal field, and these are the Singrauli, the coal fields in central India, and this is Talchi coal field, and we know this is the Mahanadi Valley coal field in Tarcher and the Eve Valley. So as we know, these coal fields which are there, they're essentially the coal fields in the eastern India or the southeastern Indian part are essentially known as Gondwana coal, belonging to the Palm-Carboniferous age, and occupy reef valleys which are now occupied by the distinct river valleys like Son, Narmada, Mahanadi and the Godavari. and these are the ones which the collieries are demarcated here. So these collieries are the major coal producing zones in the country, mostly producing coals of bituminous kind of variety of coal in majority. And also we see that there are some collieries in the northeastern states, in the state of Assam and Meghalaya. So the essential difference between these two regions primarily is that these are the Gondwana coals which were deposited in fluviatile basins and later on metamorphosed, later on converted to in the process of coalification, whereas these collieries in the northeast are the tertiary coals belonging to mostly the Eocene Oligocene kind of time range, and these are understood to have formed in marine environments, and they have a marine origin as against the freshwater origin of coal in this most of the Gondwana coal fields. So as a simple matter of distinction, we know that the coals which are freshwater or fluviatile origin, the Gondwana coals, are essentially distinguished from the tertiary coal in the by the some of the parameters, as these tertiary coal are richer in their sulfur content, sulfur and other ash content compared to the Gondwana coal. Now these in the context of spontaneous combustion of coal, it is a little important because we find most of the collieries in the northeast, the state of Assam and Meghalaya, are worked out by open cast surface mining kind of methods, and majority of the coal deposits in these Gondwana coal in the eastern and southeastern part, in the Damodar Valley, Son, Narmada and the Mahanadi Godavari Valley, they are mostly mined by underground method. Now what is observed is that the coal, once they are exposed in the mine faces, they catch fire. They are actually spontaneously combusted, what we can call in a crude term as coal fire. So there has been lots of attempt in understanding actually what causes this, because people say that there is this coal fire is not only that there are colossal wastage of resources, because huge quantities of coal are destroyed because of this fire, and also sometimes they pose threat to human lives, and there are instances of loss of life because of coal fire in some of the coal fields in the eastern India. So we'll just see that what is basically understood, or what is basically told in the context of this coal fire or the spontaneous combustion of coal mine fire. So this there are many hypotheses. One goes with the coal oxygen complex hypothesis. So this diagram is essentially the schematic diagram showing the fire triangle, the fuel, oxygen and heat. So it goes by this the understanding that once the coal is exposed or comes in contact with oxygen, then there is oxidation. This oxidation possibly takes place in a complex way by formation of the coal oxygen complexes in between, and there is oxidation, and there is it's a very severely exothermic process and generates huge amount of energy in form of heat. So if that heat is not been dissipated, then this essentially it sets up a chain reaction, and more the oxidation process gets hugely kinetically favored, and then each reaction again liberating huge amount of energy in terms of heat, and this fire becomes uncontrollable. As a matter of fact, the coal seams or the coal horizons which are worked out by open cast mines, here these are supposed to be exposed to the atmosphere where the heat is likely to be dissipated, whereas in case of the underground mine, where the heat is not been able to dissipate that very efficiently, is basically causing for this reaction. So here the process is the oxidation occurs when oxygen reacts with the fuel. The oxidation process produces heat. If the heat is dissipated, the temperature of the coal will not increase. If the heat is not dissipated, then the temperature of the coal will increase. Now at higher temperature, the oxidation reaction proceeds at a very high rate, and eventually a temperature is reached at which ignition of the material occurs. Now if we go by that principle, then the open cast mines are less likely to be affected by the spontaneous combustion compared to the underground mine. But then the observation doesn't actually fully support this, because many of the collieries in the Bokaro coal fields, which are affected, Jharia and the Bokaro coal field, which are affected by this fire, some of them also are basically being worked out by open cast mining, as far as my knowledge goes. So now what the parameters that are involved in the heat balance is the size of the coal particles, the quantity of coal, the calorific value, the heat conductivity, geometry and dimensions of the mining operations or the coal storage facility, the heat transfer coefficient on the outside surface of the bulk, ventilation and degree of compaction. So these are some of the parameters which are known to be the controlling parameters in the spontaneous combustion of coal. So the size of the coal particles is an inherent characteristic of the coal. The quantity that is present, the calorific value will come from the fixed carbon content of the coal, and the heat conductivity. So these actually these number of parameters which are shown here is a combination of both the inherent characteristic of the coal and the mining processes, which both contribute to the coal mine fire. There are some bit of other hypotheses also proposed for this spontaneous combustion of coal. One of them is the pyrite hypothesis. Some people believe that the pyrite, as I discussed before, that some of the coal are very rich in sulfur, and actually the sulfur is present in the form of pyrite, as is observed in many of the collieries, for example in the northeastern coal fields in India. This pyrite is present in the form of pyrite rhamboids within the intervening sediments, as well as the coal seams themselves also contain some good amount of pyrite. So what we discussed in the context of the acid mine drainage, this pyrite, when it gets oxidized, it liberates the hydrogen ion with hydrogen and the sulfate, the acidic water, and in addition to that, this pyrite oxidation also generates energy, which we discussed that it actually helps the microorganisms to proliferate, to grow. This is one of the hypotheses, that maybe the energy that is released during the pyrite oxidation could be triggering the oxidation of coal. The bacterium hypothesis also goes hand in hand with the pyrite hypothesis, that because the bacteria will facilitate this oxidation process and the oxidation of the coal will take place. The phenol hypothesis says that the experiments show that the phenolic hydroxyls and the polyphenols oxidize faster than the other groups, so they are supposedly present in the coal. The electrochemical hypothesis says that the auto-oxidation of coal as oxidation reduction process takes place in micro galvanic cells made by the coal component. So these are some of the other hypotheses which are proposed for the spontaneous combustion of coal. But if we try to find out whether this pyrite hypothesis actually holds, in case of the we don't see such kind of coal combustion, spontaneous combustion of coal in the sulfide rich coal seams in northeast, as I discussed, as I just said before. Maybe that because they are possibly being worked out by open cast mine, and most of these are still in a state of hypothesis, and the actual mechanism is not very definitively known. It may be that some of the coal seams do also contain lots of gases in the form of the coal bed methane and other kind of combustible gases. They also may be facilitating the process of coal combustion. It's not exactly precisely known. So these are the in a nutshell, these are the things that we can discuss in terms of the environmental impact of mineral resource exploitation, starting from the thing that there are certain issues which come up because of improper or unsafe mining practices, which causes a loss of life or some amount of threat to the workers. But then those things could certainly be taken care of by imposing strict safe mining practices. And then there are certain issues like dust, noise, or the change of the landscape, which essentially cannot be avoided, only with the fact that because as long as we need the mineral resources, we need to exploit them, and the best that we could do is that we remain aware about these issues and the way they are affecting the environment. Say for example, in context of the acid mine drainage, there are many remedial measures which could be taken. For example, use of lime, and then there are recent attempts to use many of the waste material like fly ash or cement sludge kind of material to be used or to be used in mining areas where they could be used for remediation of this acid mine drainage. So being these things, so these remain with us as the awareness or knowledge that the mineral exploitation process is causing to the environment, with the fact that we need these metals and materials for our industrial growth. Possibly the only the issue is that they could be properly compensated. For example, in many of the mining companies there are mandatory. It become mandatory for them to, if there is a particular mine area in which the mine lease needs to be deforested for setting up a mine of a particular ore body, which is economically very important, then the mining concern has to compensate by doing afforestation in the other adjoining areas, taking care of the human population, or compensating in all possible ways that the mining activity would possibly have done the harm to the environment. But the fact remains that mineral resources need to be exploited. So with the only the note of caution that remain aware about the environmental impact and do a proper environmental impact assessment, and then do or attempt adequate remedial measures for restoration of the environment, and also compensating in the form of any other kind of rehabilitation process in the nearby areas, so that the damage that is done to the environment could be somehow to be controlled or to be compensated. Thank you. So we'll continue our discussion in the next class.